I wanted to get the most value, most bang for my buck. And the devices that I use are pretty affordable comparatively to other things that you might see on the market. So like I mentioned in the last video, I wanted to talk about the devices that I've upgraded to since I had started. I had started in something that was more cost effective because I wanted to see how much I liked working digitally, how much I would want to keep pursuing it. And so I wanted the investment to be lower at first until I felt like I really wanted to keep going. And as you know, I did want to keep growing in that and keep investing in it, not only time, but also, you know, into different devices. So that being said, I still wanted to keep a budget in mind. I wanted to get the most value, most bang for my buck, and so I wanted to talk about that. And the devices that I use are pretty affordable. This is my workspace nowadays. What you see right here is a pen display tablet. Huion is the brand, and I'll talk a bit about that. And then my computer right here, desktop computer that I built. I guess first off, let's talk about the computer. It looks pretty cool as far as, you know, the colors and stuff that light up. But this is not a super high grade, you know, computer, but it is pretty nice. It's better than, you know, what like, you know, standard computer. And so some of the things you see right there, AMD processor. I got the Ryzen 7, I think the 3800. You see the NVIDIA GeForce GT. I think that's the 1650 graphics card. And what you can't really see, but it is back there is the RAM. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM. This is all in a mid-sized tower. So as far as the sizes go, you can go small, mid, or large towers, and that's based on how much you want to put in there and how much space you have, right? So I'll also upload all the technical info about the products that I needed to build the computer, but I wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose what I did and why I decided to build my own computer versus just buying it. As you know, and I mentioned this in the last video, the processing of the computer and the programs you use to not only illustrate but do other kinds of activities can really bog down the computer. So the Ryzen 7 that I went with, it's not the newest one. There's a Ryzen 8 now. It's not the most advanced one, but it does the job. You can do some gaming on it, but by my understanding, I don't game that much. It's good enough for what I'm doing. And when I was thinking about this, I wasn't just thinking about illustration. I was thinking about possibly 3D modeling. I was thinking about video processing. I was thinking about live streaming and possibly do multiple things at a time. So once you start doing all these different kind of activities, it's really going to slow your computer down. And I wanted something that can handle that and also something that can be upgraded. So I mentioned the RAM. The RAM is kind of like, the way that my brother explained it, it's kind of like short-term memory. It's what's working right now while it's processing multiple applications, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's 100% right, but the way that I set it up is with 16 gigabytes of RAM. We mentioned earlier that the iPad maxes out at 6 gigabytes of RAM. And even though the iPad Pro uses programs that is optimized for that RAM and for that processor, so it's not exactly, you know, apples to apples as far as a computer versus an iPad. But the other way it starts becoming limiting is all the different things that I want to do on the computer, right? So 3D animation, etc., that can be limiting. So that being said, the 16 gigabytes RAM as a starting point is a really good starting point, and it has ports to upgrade it even further. So I could add 2 more cards in there to get to 32 gigabytes of RAM, which, you know, is a lot. So if I ever do get to a point where I need that kind of power, I have the option. So I also went with like kind of low mid tier with the graphics card. You know, my understanding is that since I'm not going to be doing a lot of like very fast visuals, like video games, you have a 3D image and it's moving around, so it's got to process all that movement and all the information. So since I'm not doing that, I don't need something super crazy. But since I am doing some stuff that can be taxing on it, like animation and 3D modeling, I wanted something that wasn't just, you know, bare minimum. So this is the 1600 series for the GeForce NVIDIA card is pretty nice. Some of the things that I would change if I could go back is I would have gone with a small setup. So I have a mid-size tower. I probably would have went with a small tower, and what that does is it condenses all the pieces together. You can fit all the same stuff in there. It's just closer together. I thought the mid-size was going to be fine, and I knew I was going to be traveling at the time, so I thought I would be able to travel with it. And I've had some issues with traveling with it, so if you were looking at it, there was a little crack, and that was from getting it from the US to Guatemala. And so I probably would have done that, went with something smaller. But otherwise, it's been really cool. Obviously, you don't have the mobility that you get with an iPad, but for me, it wasn't as important. I don't really like drawing on a tablet when I'm not at home that much anyway. So for me, it wasn't as big of a deal, but it was worth it. So last but not least, for the desktop, the price. So after everything for the desktop, just the desktop itself, it cost me around $1,100 to build. So like I said, it's a pretty nice computer. It's not just your standard kind of like over-the-counter computer. It's if not a gaming computer, it's getting close to a pretty decent gaming computer. My brother says that I could play games on it, no worries. Again, not a gamer, but there are options to get all this performance pre-built, so you don't even have to build it, and it's going to be probably around the same price point, a little bit, maybe a little bit higher, and it works out that way. So yeah, $1,100, $1,200 for desktop that is super high performing, kind of adjustable and modular based on how I change and build, and also has a lot of room for different types of activities. Really perfect for what I'm doing, and definitely a good option. So now let's talk about the pen display. So this is the Huion Kamvas, and that's spelled Kamvas 24 Pro. It's kind of one of their biggest models. Huion is a competitor to Wacom, a brand that I mentioned in the last video. Actually, historically, doesn't have a great reputation as far as, you know, quality goes versus the Wacom, and so I definitely took that into consideration when purchasing it. Based on my research before buying it, they've made a lot of improvements technology-wise and quality-wise, and this same size for the Wacom brand would be more than twice the price. Let me show you some of the things. It has some like quick keys over here that you could program. Kind of have my rig set up so it's a little weird for me to draw, but yeah, you can see that it's pretty good. I mean, you can see that you get pretty smooth lines here, and I've drawn some pretty decent quality things on here, and these buttons over here, this is a zoom, I programmed this to my liking. So this is the space drag button. E switches it to the eraser. B is brush again. This bracket is to shrink the brush size. And this one is to increase it. So it really works great for me. And the price point for this product was about $900. And if you were gonna go with the Wacom with the same size, it would have been, it's like $2,500 or something like that. And shout out to my girlfriend, she actually got this for me for my birthday. And so, you know, she's the best. So all in all, 900 plus the 1,200, you're looking at $2,200. And you get a whole lot of different things. The only thing that I have had an issue with is Krita. So I mentioned Krita in the last video as the free drawing software that I use. By the way, Krita has an animation tool, so you can actually create animations in here, and that's what I was trying to use it, because I do better with animation on this program. So you can see in Krita, it's coming out not as smooth, the lines. And I was having issues with it lagging for some reason before, and that maybe that was the animation tool. See, that one was kind of slow. See how it's slow right there? I don't know why that is, and I'm gonna do some research, see if I can see right there, it's not even drawing. See if I can calibrate it, because sometimes it's just a matter of calibration with these things. See right there, it didn't work. And so I don't know if it's the tool or the program, but I'm thinking it might be the program, a combination of the program and the tool, because I was using Krita with my Wacom board the other day, and I had no issues. So that's the only thing that I see as the negative right now. Also, I guess, you know, the reviews that I had seen is that it's a little less robust as far as, like, you know, durability, you know, so you can't, like, you don't want to muscle it too much. You want to be pretty gentle with it. And but for me, that's not a big problem because it's pretty stationary. I'm actually pretty heavy-handed, but since I'm not moving it too much, it's not a big problem. So yeah, that's my setup now. That's the tech I use, devices that I use, and I'm pretty happy with it. You know, they work great for what I'm doing, and what I want to eventually do, and they were at a good price point for me, and I work on it every day. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. You know, like I said, doesn't have to break the bank to get into digital art, and there's a lot of cool tech out there that is accessible. And also the cooler thing is that you can customize this for exactly what you need, right? So if you wanted more RAM, or if you wanted less RAM, more processing power or less, that can help with adjusting to your price point. And as far as the Huion brand for the pen display, I think it works great, and I think I can make really cool stuff on it. If it ever becomes a need to use a Wacom, because I never really tried a Wacom this big. Let's say I tried the Wacom and it was so much better performance-wise that I needed to have it. Hopefully by that time, I'll have more to invest in it, and this thing business-wise is more fruitful, and it'll make more sense. But in this case, lower risk, lower investment, and it's working for what I do, and I'm having fun, and I like using it every day. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I'm not a tech pro. I know people that are, and otherwise I can Google some stuff. But let me know what you think, if this was helpful. what kind of rig you got, and have a great week.